Hi, all, please enjoy this sci-fi story. Human and alien seductress are forced to share quarters on a combined defense starship. The combined defense starship Benghazi Hana traversed the vast void of space with the precision of a finely tuned instrument. Liam stood at the viewport of the docking bay, his reflection merging with that of the approaching vessel. At the age of 32, his dark hair was already showing signs of gray at the temples, a testament to the countless hours dedicated to resolving intricate engineering challenges. His neatly pressed uniform displayed the insignia of Earth's Combined Defense Engineering Corps, and his upright posture indicated a person who found solace in order and discipline. "Welcome aboard the Benghazi Hana, Mr. Liam," Captain Carla Morgan greeted him, her voice resonating with the crisp authority of someone accustomed to leadership. "I trust your journey was uneventful?" "Exactly as calculated, Captain," Liam replied, offering a precise nod. "I have reviewed the preliminary reports regarding your power grid issues. The sooner I can commence diagnostics, the better." A faint smile appeared on Morgan's face. "Straight to business, I see. Your reputation precedes you, Mr. Liam. Please follow me to the engineering bay, and we will get you settled." As they navigated the immaculate corridors, Liam observed every detail with a professional eye. The Benghazi Hana was a marvel of human engineering, one of the latest additions to the fleet. However, even the most advanced systems required maintenance, and the power fluctuations they had been experiencing could pose significant risks if not addressed promptly. "Your quarters are located on Deck C, Section 4, Morgan informed him as they arrived at the main engineering hub. However, there has been a slight complication. Liam's pace slowed. "Complication? We have an unexpected passenger aboard, a Odyssean female. There was a mix-up with her transport, and due to diplomatic protocols, we are obligated to accommodate her until alternative arrangements can be made." "I fail to see how this impacts my assignment, Captain," Liam remarked, noting the tightening of Morgan's expression. Space is limited, Mr. Liam. You will need to share your quarters." Liam halted his steps completely. Share with an alien civilian? That is entirely against protocol. These are exceptional circumstances. The Odysseans are a newly contacted species, and it is vital to maintain good relations. Furthermore, Morgan added with a hint of measured amusement, "It is only temporary." Before Liam could voice any further objections, the engineering bay doors opened, revealing a vast room alive with energy. Rows of computers lined the walls, and conduits crisscrossed the ceiling. Here, at least, everything was logical: numbers, equations, power flows. These were challenges he could address. "Get settled in and review the systems," Morgan instructed. "Your access codes have been uploaded. And Mr. Liam, please try to handle the quarter situation diplomatically." Liam spent the next 4 hours engrossed in diagnostic data, barely aware of the engineering crew working around him. The power fluctuations were more intricate than initially reported, revealing subtle variations in the quantum matrix that should not have been feasible with existing technology. "Fascinating," he murmured, his fingers deftly navigating the holographic interface. The variance patterns almost appeared organic. Suddenly, a delightful aroma wafted through the air, breaking Liam's concentration. He looked up to see the engineering crew frozen, all eyes fixed on the doorway. Following their gaze, Liam experienced a moment of complete distraction from numbers. The woman, if that term could even be applied, seemed to glide rather than walk into the room. Her skin bore a delicate green hue that shifted like sunlight filtering through leaves, and her eyes were a deep purple reminiscent of twilight. Long, silver white hair cascaded down her back in intricate braids, interwoven with tiny crystals. She donned what appeared to be standard civilian attire, yet somehow transformed the simple jumpsuit into something resembling exotic evening wear. "I am looking for Liam." "Liam," she announced, her accent musical and peculiar. "The nice captain said he's my new roommate." Liam felt his throat go dry. This must be some kind of error. The Odyssean race was said to possess natural empathic abilities and enchanting qualities. Their mere presence could influence the emotions of those nearby. How was he expected to perform his duties under such circumstances? "I am Liam," he stated, managing to stand a bit taller. She moved toward him with a grace that was truly remarkable and smiled. "I am T. Kundalyana, but please call me TT, everyone does." She extended her hand in a manner that clearly mimicked a human greeting. "I apologize for the confusion regarding accommodations. I was meant to be on a transport to Centro Prime, but somehow I ended up here instead. Isn't it amusing how the universe operates?" Liam did not find it amusing at all as he hesitantly took her hand. A sensation akin to warm sunlight washed over him, prompting him to withdraw his hand quickly and step back. "I need to complete these diagnostics," he stated with a hint of stiffness. "Perhaps we can discuss arrangements later." "Of course, I wouldn't want to interrupt your work. I merely wished to introduce myself properly." She turned to leave but paused. "That's intriguing." Despite himself, Liam inquired, "What is intriguing?" TT pointed to his holographic displays. "Those energy patterns resemble the meditation waves we utilize in our temples back home. Observe how they pulse." She traced a finger through the air, following the flow of data as if it were a living entity. Liam looked at her, then back at the display. She was correct. The power fluctuations mirrored biological rhythms. But how could she possibly know? "Just an observation," TT chimed as she danced toward the door. "See you in our quarters, roomie." The engineering crew watched her depart, several of them letting out audible sighs. Liam returned to his work, attempting to disregard the lingering aroma of something reminiscent of. He had equations to solve and systems to repair, leaving him little time for whatever this distraction was. However, upon revisiting the power fluctuation patterns, all he could perceive was the way her finger had traced their flow, as if she were interpreting a melody that only she could hear. Later that evening, Liam found himself standing outside his assigned quarters, his pulse racing as if he were about to enter a combat zone rather than his own living space. He procrastinated as long as possible, conducting additional diagnostics and preparing preliminary reports, but ultimately, he had to confront the situation. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Liam's meticulously organized world tilted askew. The standard combined defense quarters had been transformed. Diaphanous fabrics in shades of purple and silver adorned the walls, somehow expanding the small space. Crystal prisms hung from the ceiling, casting rainbow patterns across the surfaces, while the air was thick with the scent of an alien incense that pleasantly clouded his mind. TT sat cross-legged on one of the narrow beds, her eyes closed in meditation. She had changed into what appeared to be traditional Odyssean attire, with flowing layers of translucent material that were both modest and utterly captivating. "Welcome home," she said without opening her eyes. "I hope you don't mind, but combined defense quarters are so sterile, I needed to adjust the energy flow." "This is completely against regulations," Liam replied, striving to maintain his composure. "These quarters must adhere to standard specifications." At that, she opened her eyes, fixing him with her unsettling violet gaze. "Really? And where in your regulations does it state that temporary fabric arrangements are prohibited?" "Mine and stardust in the air." She smiled gently as I examined the situation closely, confirming that there were no restrictions against temporary decorative changes that would not harm the structure. Liam opened his mouth to contest this point but quickly closed it again. She was indeed correct. The regulations addressed permanent modifications, but temporary alterations fell into a vague category. The incense, however, could potentially disrupt the air filtration systems. "Oh, do not be concerned. It is entirely non-toxic and certified for use in enclosed environments. Would you like to see the documentation?" she said, reaching for a small bag beside her bed. "That won't be necessary," Liam replied, moving to his own bed, which was not adorned with alien fabrics, and placing his datapad down. "I have work to review and would appreciate some quiet." "Of course, I will just complete my evening meditation. You won't even notice my presence," she assured him. Yet, Liam found it hard to believe that would be the case. He could sense her presence like a warm current in the air, making it challenging to concentrate on the power consumption charts displayed on his screen. The incense was not aiding his focus either. It had a way of loosening his thoughts, making them feel more fluid and less structured than usual. A soft humming sound began to fill the room, which he assumed was part of her meditation practice. The sound resonated within him, causing his heart to beat slightly faster. "Could you?" he began to ask, but the words faltered as he looked up. T had risen from her meditative position and was gathering items for the shower. As she moved, her clothing flowed like water, revealing glimpses of her green skin that appeared to glow from within. She noticed him watching and offered a smile, not flirtatious but imbued with genuine warmth, which somehow intensified the situation. "I'll be quick," she assured him, stepping into the small bathroom. "Unless you'd prefer to share, I hear humans are quite concerned about water conservation." Liam nearly dropped his datapad. "That won't be necessary," he replied hastily, his voice rougher than he had intended. Her melodic laughter floated through the door, followed by the sound of running water. Liam focused on his screen, attempting to concentrate on power consumption algorithms while deliberately avoiding thoughts of what was occurring less than 3 meters away. This assignment was shaping up to be exceedingly long. The following morning, Liam awoke precisely at 0600 hours, as was his custom. He lay still for a moment, hoping that the events of the previous day had been merely a stress-induced illusion. Then he caught the scent of alien incense and heard the soft, rhythmic sound of breathing from across the room. Carefully, he turned his head to see Tal asleep on her bed, her silver-white hair fanned out across the pillow like starlight. The early morning light from the ship's day cycle made her green skin shimmer slightly. She had wrapped herself in a silvery sleeping garment that was both modest and completely alluring. Acting with caution, Liam rose as quietly as possible, gathering his uniform and heading for the bathroom. He needed to begin his day and maintain his routine. The power grid was not going to repair itself. "Good morning," said Engineer Tal, her voice thick with sleep, interrupting him as he made his way to the bathroom. "You are up quite early." "Standard combined defense schedule," he replied stiffly, not turning to face her. "I have work to do. The sun isn't even fully risen yet." "Oh wait, we are in space," she chuckled softly. "I am still adjusting to that. On Viridia, we rise with the triple suns." Despite himself, Liam's engineering curiosity was ignited. Triple suns? That must create some intriguing atmospheric effects. "Oh yes, the light shifts in fascinating ways each day. Sometimes it appears purple, other times gold." She stretched, and the movement caught Liam's attention in his peripheral vision. "Would you like to discuss it over breakfast? I usually eat in engineering while going over reports." "How terribly efficient of you," he remarked, sensing the smile in her voice. "And terribly lonely. Come on, just this once. I would love to learn more about this captivating ship of yours." Liam made the error of turning around, finding TT sitting up, her hair tousled from sleep and her violet eyes sparkling with genuine interest. There was something in her expression, completely devoid of deceit or manipulation, which caused his carefully built resistance to falter. One breakfast. Breakfast was a time of concession for him, yet he maintained a strict schedule. She, however, practically sprang from the bed. "Let me just freshen up first, unless you would prefer to wait," she suggested. Liam quickly retreated to the corridor, eager to avoid any further discussion. 10 minutes later, they found themselves in the ship's mess hall. Despite the early hour, several crew members were already present, and Liam noticed their eyes tracking T, who seemed completely unaware of the attention as she focused on her breakfast. "So, these power fluctuations," she began, gesturing with her fork, "they're not merely mechanical, are they? There's something organic about them." Liam leaned in, intrigued by her perception. "Exactly. The patterns do not align with any known mechanical failure. It's almost as if the ship is breathing." T finished her thought, like it's developing its own energy signature. "That's impossible," Liam replied firmly. "Is it?" She countered, tilting her head, the crystals in her hair glinting in the light. "Your species is so quick to label things as impossible. On Viridia, we believe that everything possesses energy, everything has, what's your term, consciousness. Ships do not have consciousness," Liam asserted. "They operate on systems, protocols, and mathematical certainties." "And yet," she continued with a mysterious smile, your power fluctuations exhibit patterns that resemble meditative waves. Perhaps the universe is more intriguing than your equations imply." Before Liam could respond, Captain Morgan approached their table. "Mr. Liam, I require your preliminary report by 0800 and Miss Verdiana." "Mr. Liam, I require your preliminary report by 0800. Miss Verdiana, we have established contact with your embassy, which is currently arranging transportation. However, this process may take several weeks." Liam's voice betrayed his disappointment. "Is this an issue, Mr. Liam?" Morgan's tone was cautionary. "Not at all," he replied promptly. "The work will require at least that duration regardless." "Excellent," T exclaimed, clapping her hands. "This provides us ample opportunity to delve into my consciousness theory." "There is no theory, only facts, measurements, and solutions." "We shall see." TT remarked gracefully, "I believe I will explore the ship today, unless that contravenes your esteemed regulations." "Civilian guests are permitted in public areas," Liam responded while reviewing his datapad, "but please refrain from entering engineering. I need to concentrate." "Naturally," she said, lightly touching his shoulder as she passed, and that familiar warmth enveloped him. "Enjoy your equations." Liam observed her glide away, already attracting admiring looks from the crew. He then caught Captain Morgan's gaze, which held a hint of amusement. "She is quite disruptive," he defended himself. "Sometimes, disruption fosters innovation, Mr. Liam," Morgan replied with a slight smile. "Perhaps you should view this as an engineering challenge. How can you maintain efficiency while accommodating unforeseen variables? Variables should be managed or removed. However, some of our most significant breakthroughs have arisen from accepting chaos rather than attempting to control it." Morgan's smile broadened as he instructed, "Your report is due by 0800 Mr. Liam, and please try to enjoy the process of unraveling this particular puzzle." Liam dedicated the morning to diagnostics, striving to decipher the unusual patterns within the power grid. Yet, his usual sharp focus faltered, interrupted by recollections of green skin and violet eyes, as well as theories regarding ship consciousness and organic energy patterns. "Impossible," he muttered, gazing at the latest data. Ships do not breathe, yet as he observed the energy coursing across his screens, he could not ignore how it pulsed in a harmonious rhythm, like gentle waves, like meditation, like the rise and fall of T's chest as she slept in the morning light. Liam shook his head vigorously. He had tasks to complete. The last thing he required was to allow some alien mysticism or fanciful notions to disrupt solid engineering principles, even if those principles failed to fully account for what he was witnessing. Perhaps, just perhaps, he needed to approach the issue from an entirely different perspective, even if that entailed acknowledging that, on rare occasions, disruption could lead to discovery. However, such a line of thinking was perilous, and Liam was not one to engage in danger. Liam had always maintained a precise and controlled routine. However, a week into T's stay, he began to notice the first signs of disruption in his meticulously structured life. His uniform, typically pressed with combined defense precision, bore a slight wrinkle that he had overlooked that morning. He found himself humming one of Tal's meditation chants while in the shower, a behavior he had never exhibited before. Most concerning of all, he had started to anticipate their shared breakfasts. "You seem different today," T remarked, sitting cross-legged on her bed as Liam analyzed the day's diagnostics. "You appear less rigid." "The power fluctuations are impacting my concentration," he replied, not lifting his gaze from the datapad. "They are becoming more frequent." "Or perhaps you are simply learning to breathe," she suggested, moving to stand behind him, close enough for him to feel her warmth. "Observe how the patterns align with the ship's energy. Your breathing is part of the universal flow." "There is no universal flow in engineering," he countered. As her fingers brushed against his shoulder, a familiar warmth surged through him. "Then why does your pulse quicken when I do this?" she inquired, and Liam instinctively jerked away, though he noted that the power readings on his screen had spiked precisely at that moment. "That's merely a coincidence," he asserted, but her soft laughter filled the air. "Join me for a brief 10-minute meditation for the sake of science, if you prefer. I have work that will require my attention in 10 minutes. She gently tugged at his sleeve, framing it as an experiment to assess the connection between personal energy and the ship's systems. When presented in that manner, it almost seemed plausible, even professional. Liam allowed himself to be led to the floor, where TT had meticulously arranged cushions in a geometric formation. "Close your eyes," she instructed. "Focus on your breathing." This seemed absurd to him, an engineer accustomed to logic. "Just feel," she urged, her voice transforming into a melodic tone that resonated within him. Despite his initial resistance, Liam found his breath naturally aligning with the rhythm. The persistent tension in his shoulders began to dissipate. "Good," she murmured. "Now extend your awareness and sense the energy surrounding you." Liam weakly protested. "Energy cannot be felt, it can only be measured and quantified." Her fingers gently pressed against his lips, silencing his objections. "Feel first, measure later." The sensation of her touch lingered even after she withdrew her fingers. Liam remained still, acutely aware of her presence behind him, the soft sound of her breathing, and the way the air seemed to pulse in harmony with the rhythm. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, scrambling for his data pad to access the power grid diagnostics. The patterns were unmistakable now. There was perfect synchronization between the ship's energy fluctuations and the rhythm of the meditation. "This is impossible," he gasped. "Improbable," TT corrected, leaning over his shoulder to examine the display. "But it is clearly occurring. Your ship is dancing." Liam simply required guidance to master the steps. The use of his first name sent an unexpected shiver through him. He turned to object, only to find her face mere inches from his, her violet eyes gleaming with triumph and something else. Something that caused his meticulously organized thoughts to scatter like startled birds. "I should report this to Captain Morgan," he managed to say. "Probably." TT did not step back but insisted, "Admit it, I was correct about the energy patterns. The data suggests certain correlations, Liam." Her smile was radiant. "Just say it, TT, you were right." She pressed her finger to his lips once more, but this time allowed it to trail slowly along his jawline as she withdrew it. "We will work on that." Before Liam could reply, the ship's intercom crackled to life. "Engineering team to grid section 7, power fluctuation detected." Liam nearly jumped to his feet, relieved by the interruption. "I have to go." TT waved him off, still smiling. "Your ship needs you, but this conversation is not finished." The power fluctuation turned out to be minor, yet Liam lingered in engineering long after it was resolved, conducting unnecessary diagnostics and attempting to suppress thoughts of TT's finger gliding along his jaw. Lieutenant Zhang found him there well past midnight, still fixated on the energy readings. "You know," Zhang said cautiously, "the crew has been discussing the power fluctuations, and you." Leaning against the console, Zhang continued, "You seem different. Lately, more at ease. Some even noticed you smiling yesterday." Liam protested, "I smile." "Not in that way, as if you possess some extraordinary knowledge that is both delightful and frightening," Jan replied with a grin. "Your Odyssean acquaintance is quite remarkable." "She is not my acquaintance, she is merely a temporary nuisance." "Right, and that is precisely why you are constantly monitoring the security feeds from public areas while she explores the ship." Liam felt a flush of heat rise to his cheeks. "I am observing potential system interactions with her energy signature." "Of course you are," Zhang said, his grin widening. "Just as you were observing system interactions when she was dancing in the recreation area yesterday." That was a traditional Odyssean meditation exercise, very athletic. Zhang pushed away from the console. "All I'm suggesting is that perhaps some disruption isn't entirely negative. The crew appreciates her presence, morale has improved, and even Captain Morgan appears more at ease. We are a combined defense vessel, not a pleasure cruise, and you are an engineer, not a robot." Zhang moved toward the door. "Get some rest, Liam. Your ship and your temporary nuisance will still be here tomorrow." However, when Liam finally returned to his quarters, TT was absent. A note appeared on the room's holographic display, "Midnight meditation in observation deck 3. Join me if you dare." Liam remained fixated on the message for an extended period. Logically, he should have prioritized rest, as he had early diagnostics to conduct, reports to submit, and a ship in need of repairs. However, the power readings from their meditation session continued to trouble him, and he pondered whether there was a link between Tal's energy and the ship's systems. With a mutter, he made his way to the observation deck, where he discovered her floating in zero gravity. Her silver-white hair radiated around her like a cosmic halo. She had activated the deck's transparent ceiling, allowing the stars to drift slowly overhead, casting shifting patterns of light across her green skin. "I wondered if you would come," she remarked, her eyes still closed. "Computer, restore gravity to 10%, Liam commanded, feeling his feet gently touch the deck as the artificial gravity gradually reasserted itself. TT remained suspended but was now at eye level. "The artificial gravity could malfunction," he cautioned. "It's not safe to dance with me." At that moment, she opened her eyes, her violet gaze locking onto his in the low gravity. "It's the closest humans can get to how we move on Viridia. I will demonstrate how energy truly flows." "I don't dance," he replied. "You don't meditate either, yet you did that," she countered, extending her hand. "Trust the experiment, Engineer Liam." He recognized that he ought to depart, to uphold a professional distance, and to concentrate on his responsibilities. Instead, he grasped her hand, drawing her gently into the low-gravity environment, their bodies gravitating closer. He could sense the rhythm as she whispered, akin to the ship's power pulses, reminiscent of breathing. Her hand was warm against his, her skin softer than he had anticipated. She led him in a slow rotation, their bodies moving in ways that would be unfeasible under normal gravity. Her voice had become a mere whisper, occasionally surrendering to the loss of control. A sudden surge of power caused them to tumble together, and Liam instinctively caught her, their faces mere inches apart as emergency lights flickered. The intercom crackled with a warning of a major power fluctuation. Liam glanced at the data pad still held in his other hand. The energy patterns were erratic yet synchronized with his heartbeat. "I should," he began, but TT interjected softly, "Your ship needs you." As she pushed away, her lips brushed against his cheek, leaving him with a lingering sensation. "Consider what your heart is trying to convey." Liam hurried to engineering, his skin tingling where she had kissed him. The ship's systems pulsed in harmony with his racing pulse. He reminded himself of the necessity for control, yet for the first time, he found himself questioning whether he truly desired it. The subsequent days aboard the AR Adna unfolded as a complex interplay of evasion and inevitability. Liam immersed himself in his tasks, yet TT's presence seemed to infiltrate every aspect of the ship. Her laughter resonated through the corridors, her scent lingered in their quarters, and most troubling of all, the power fluctuations appeared to escalate whenever she was nearby. "These readings make no sense," Liam muttered one evening, staring at his diagnostic screen as the numbers blurred before him, exhaustion finally catching up with him. "Denying the situation between us is not an option." Tal's voice resonated from the entrance of the engineering bay, where she stood adorned in what seemed to be traditional Odyssean evening attire, with flowing layers of translucent silver that shimmered like stardust. "This area is restricted," Liam stated without looking up. "Civilian access is only allowed with the appropriate escort." She responded with a triumphant smile, "Captain. Morgan herself has approved my request to observe your work for cultural exchange purposes." At this, Liam finally raised his gaze, prepared to object, only to find Captain Morgan standing behind Tal, an amused expression gracing her features. "Miss Kundaliana has some intriguing theories regarding the power fluctuations," Morgan remarked, "especially considering their correlation with her presence. I believe it warrants further investigation." Liam replied, "With all due respect, Captain, these are intricate engineering challenges that do not yield to conventional solutions." However, Morgan's tone was firm, leaving no room for dissent. "Think beyond your comfort zone, Mr. Liam. Sometimes, the most elegant solutions arise from the most unexpected sources." Before Liam could retort, she departed, leaving him and Tal alone in the engineering bay, which suddenly felt considerably more confined. "Your energy seems all tangled," Tal noted, moving closer to examine his screens. "It's as if you're resisting something that wishes to flow naturally." Liam muttered, "The only thing flowing naturally is my ability to concentrate," yet he could not ignore the noticeable spike in power readings as she leaned over his shoulder. The intriguing sensation of her breath against his ear made him aware that the ship reacted to proximity in a manner akin to his own responses. Liam instinctively pulled away, but TT grasped his wrist, and the familiar warmth surged up his arm. "Examine your readings," she urged gently. "What does the data indicate?" He observed the energy patterns, which pulsed in perfect synchrony with his heartbeat, creating interference patterns that resembled a dance. "The energy is dancing, just like in zero gravity," he murmured. T's fingers traced delicate patterns on his wrist. "Everything in the universe desires to dance, Liam, starship engines, even the most obstinate engineers." He began to protest, but she silenced him with a finger on his lips, a gesture that was becoming increasingly familiar. "Close your eyes. Feel the ship's rhythm, feel your own." Against his better judgment, Liam complied, closing his eyes. The steady hum of the engines transformed, taking on a more melodic quality. He sensed T moving closer, her warmth enveloping him like a magnetic field. "Tell me what your instruments cannot measure," she whispered. Liam's eyes flew open. "The quantum field interactions," he gasped. "We have been measuring the wrong parameters. It's not merely about power fluctuations, but rather the resonance patterns between organic and mechanical energy states." T's smile was radiant. "Your heart understands things that your equations do not." She was too near, and the scent of her, reminiscent of starlight and ethereal flowers, clouded his thoughts. He attempted to retreat but found himself cornered between T and his console. "I should run new diagnostics," he stammered. "You should kiss me," she replied, her words hanging in the air, charged with an energy surpassing that of the ship's entire power grid. Liam's meticulously crafted world shifted dramatically as he sought the appropriate words. His fingers glided over the collar of his uniform, reminiscent of a dance in zero gravity, akin to meditation, suggesting that perhaps not everything could be quantified or controlled. The power readings on his display surged erratically, and warning lights illuminated the cabin, yet Liam found himself entranced by her violet eyes, unable to resist the magnetic pull that drew them closer together. The ship's intercom crackled to life, announcing a power surge in Section 5, causing Liam to instinctively recoil from TT, his heart racing. "I need to go," he stated, but her smile revealed a new intensity, a warmth unrelated to the energy fluctuations. "But Liam, soon you will run out of excuses," she whispered, leaning in so her lips brushed against his ear. "I will teach you how the Kundalians truly dance." With that, she glided away, leaving Liam fixated on his wildly fluctuating instruments, his heartbeat mirroring their erratic rhythm. He had a ship to repair, reports to compile, and professional standards to uphold. Yet for the first time in his career, engineer Liam questioned whether the numbers truly warranted his focus. Meanwhile, within the ship's quantum matrix, energy patterns continued their ceaseless dance, awaiting his participation. The message arrived during a tranquil morning shift as Liam was analyzing his latest observations on the ship's energy patterns. Captain Morgan's voice broke through his private channel. "Mr. Liam, the Odyssean transport will arrive in 48 hours. The announcement struck him like a physical blow. Liam stared at his screens, observing the power readings pulse in erratic rhythms. "Understood," he replied, managing to maintain his composure. "I will ensure all relevant data is documented before her departure." Morgan's tone softened. "Take the rest of the day off. Some equations require time to find their balance." Liam found himself meandering through the ship's corridors, ultimately arriving at Observation Deck 3, the very location where he had shared a dance with T in low gravity. In that moment, he first sensed the ship's energy resonating in sync with his own heartbeat. "I thought I would find you here," Liam remarked as he turned to see Tal standing in the doorway. She was adorned in traditional Odyssean travel robes, and the sight of her prepared for departure stirred a deep ache within his chest. "The transport arrives in 48 hours, he stated with a hint of stiffness. "I need to finalize my reports on the energy fluctuations." "Always hiding behind your reports," she said, stepping closer, her presence causing the very air around them to shimmer. "What are you truly afraid of, Liam?" "I am not afraid, I am being professional," he replied, though her gaze suggested otherwise. She extended her fingers, hovering just above his heart. "You are like a quantum particle, attempting to exist in two states simultaneously, ordered yet chaotic, controlled yet free. Professional." Her voice softened to a whisper, "and in love." Liam began to respond, but his words faltered as Tal's hand made contact with his chest. A familiar warmth enveloped him, but this time it carried an undercurrent of something more profound, making the ship's gravity feel uncertain. "Computer," Tal instructed gently, "reduce gravity to 10%. As their feet lifted from the deck, Liam instinctively reached for her, their bodies drifting together, rediscovering the rhythm they had found on that first night. "The power readings will still be there tomorrow," he attempted to assert. Tal's fingers traced his jawline. "But I won't be." The realization struck him like a jolt through the quantum matrix. 48 hours. 2 days until she would return to her world of triple suns and vibrant energy. 2 days until his meticulously ordered universe would descend into beautiful chaos. "I don't know how to navigate this," he confessed. "Do what?" "Any of it. Dancing, feeling, letting go." Tal smiled, though a shadow lingered in her violet eyes. "Yes, you do. You have been doing it since the moment we met. Every time you allowed me to meditate in our quarters, every time you smiled at my disruptions, every time you felt the ship's energy dance without trying to confine it to rigid patterns." The ship's eyes widened in realization. The fluctuations were not a malfunction. They represented the ship learning to synchronize with you, with us. Now, the understanding dawned on Tal, whose smile turned bittersweet. Some energies are destined to interact and transform one another, even if they cannot remain intertwined indefinitely. They drifted in silence, the stars rotating above them, their bodies moving in perfect synchrony with the ship's rhythm. "I need to show you something," Liam stated abruptly. "Computer, restore gravity." As their feet settled onto the deck, he took T's hand and guided her to the engineering room, which was empty at this late hour. The screens illuminated the space with their eternal display of numbers and patterns. "Look," he said, pulling up a specific set of readings. "This was the day you arrived, the ship's normal energy pattern." He then mentioned another display. "And this is now." The contrast was remarkable. Where the initial pattern had been rigid and mechanical, the current readings exhibited intricate harmonics and beautiful interference patterns that resembled music made visible. "You taught the ship to dance," Liam remarked softly. "You taught me to dance." I had been so preoccupied with measuring and controlling it that I nearly overlooked the most significant reading of all. He turned to her, allowing himself for the first time to truly see her and to feel the depth of what had been developing between them. "I love you," he confessed simply, "and that terrifies me more than any power surge ever could." Tal's eyes widened, then sparkled with starlight. "Finally," she exhaled, pulling him into a kiss that sent the ship's instruments into a frenzy. As they separated, warning lights illuminated the surroundings, and the quantum matrix displayed readings that defied logic. Liam found himself unable to care. "I still have to go," he murmured softly. He gently caressed her cheek, astonished by how natural the gesture felt. "But perhaps this is not the conclusion of our journey." "What do you mean?" she inquired. "The Ariadne requires a permanent consultant on quantum organic energy interactions, someone who comprehends how ships learn to navigate." He smiled, adding, "I might know someone suitable." Her laughter resonated like music. "Are you offering me a position, Engineer Liam?" "I'm offering you a reason to dance with me once more," he replied, drawing her closer as another surge of power caused the lights to flicker. "Besides, someone must assist me in managing these new energy patterns you've created." She traced delicate patterns on his chest, her violet eyes sparkling. "And the fact that we will be sharing quarters again is purely a professional matter, of course. Though I should caution you, Odyssean cultural exchange protocols are quite comprehensive." The following 48 hours unfolded in a whirlwind of preparations, paperwork, and stolen moments in zero gravity. When the transport arrived, TT boarded with a promise to return in a month, leaving Liam with a kiss that triggered every power sensor on the ship. Now he stood in their quarters, enveloped by the lingering scent of her incense and the gentle hum of engines that would never resonate in quite the same manner again. A new message blinked on his console: Cultural Exchange Protocol 359. Decision meditation techniques necessitate close physical proximity for optimal energy transfer. Prepare appropriate accommodations for my return. Love, your quantum dance partner. Liam smiled, feeling the ship's energy pulse, in sync with his heart. Sometimes, the most elegant solutions emerged from relinquishing rigid equations and embracing the art of dance. Please subscribe before leaving. You deserve more video, soon. Thank you.